Hi, I'm Jacob from KJT Productions. As part of my research into the genre of thriller, I looked at typical settings in thriller films. Shutter Island is a film directed by Martin Scorsese and released in 2010. It was a thriller film and is set in 1954 on an island which houses Ashcliff, a hospital for the criminally insane. The island is located in Boston Harbor, America. The film's settings are effective as the outside scenes are very gloomy and make the hospital seem depressive, which emphasises the creepiness of the hospital. However, the inside scenes are very dark also and give the film a typical thriller setting. The film creates a sense of danger throughout. This is done by the weather always being stormy and showing how restless the sea is. The danger makes the setting fit into the general theme of thriller films. Also, another feature of a typical thriller film is that it's set on an isolated island which inhabits a mental asylum. This is a feature of a thriller film as the island is mysterious and creepy. I really like the storm, or the use of prophetic fallacy, that represented the characters' conflicting emotions. This is something that I would like to try and recreate and put into my film. I want to do this so that I can recreate the sense of danger from the film, and also it fits in with the typical setting of a thriller film. Secondly, I like the colour. The colour of the setting made everything better. Everything was made greyer and darker. This meant that the setting created a sense of depression and lifelessness, which helped emphasise the scene. This is a typical feature of a thriller film. This is something I would like to use also, so that I can make my settings typical thriller settings. Seven is another thriller film directed by David Fincher and was released in 1995. When retiring police detective William Somerset tackles the final case with the aid of newly transferred David Mills, they discover a number of elaborate and grisly murders. In Seven, the film's settings are effective as the film is set in a nondescript city, and the looming buildings create a sense of weakness and present the characters as small and powerless. This can then be used to make the characters seem even more powerless, as this is a typical setting of a thriller film. Also, the city setting keeps up the suspense as it makes the film seem fast-paced and not boring. The colour tone of the buildings has been graded so that it is a lot greyer, and skies have been used to create a sense of prophetic fallacy, and they represent lifelessness of the city, and how everyone is boring and not having fun. Furthermore, another use of prophetic fallacy is the constant rain throughout the film that is used to emphasise the trouble or problems going on within the films. The rain only stops in the final scene where the killer is shot and the film ends in the middle of the desert. That is something that I hope to recreate into my film so that I can create a sense of danger and make my film have a typical thriller setting. I also really like the lighting used in both the whole film, but especially the last scene, as most of the film is low-key lighting, and this makes it very dark and gloomy. And that is a typical setting of a thriller. The last scene, there is a high-key lighting, and it is outside in the day. The sun is shining, and to emphasise this then creates a sense of hope as the characters have caught the villain and the film is coming to a close. The high-key lighting, even though it is outside, shows that the audience that the characters have prevailed. This contrasts typical settings of thriller films. However, as the film comes to a close, it shows that the heroes have succeeded. The Shining, directed by Stanley Kubrick, was released in 1980 and is another thriller film. Jack Torrance arrives at the mountain isolated Overlook Hotel, which is 25 miles from the closest town. He does this to interview for the position of the winter caretaker. The film's very first scene is very effective as the use of high-key lighting creates a sense of safety and happiness, and this is very contrasting to the rest of the film as most of it is low-key lighting and very dark colours. Also, this scene uses prophetic fallacy to emphasise the sense of safety. However, this prophetic fallacy isn't reciprocated throughout the rest of the film as it is dark and eerie in almost all of the other scenes. Because the setting is a drive through a nice mountain valley, this contrasts with a typical setting of a thriller film. The inside settings use high-key lighting, which typically means the scene would be happy. However, this lighting with the long narrow corridors creates a sense of mystery and danger, as in one of the scenes, a young boy can be seen pedalling down the corridor on a tricycle, all on his own. The audience at a point of unease as the boy is alone and no one knows what's going to happen. The use of the hotel in The Shining as the main setting emphasises the creepiness in the film and creates a typical thriller setting as everything seems weird. This effect is enhanced by the low-key lighting and the colours, as the colours are all very dark in the corners of the setting. The last film I'll be looking at today is Goodfellas. Goodfellas was directed by Martin Scorsese and was released in 1990. It again is another thriller. A young man grows up in the mob and works very hard to advance himself through the ranks. He enjoys his life of money and luxury, but is oblivious to the horror that he causes. In the opening scene of Goodfellas, three of the main characters are standing behind the boot or the trunk of their car. and they shoot a man inside to kill him. In this scene, there is very low-key lighting, as the car's brake lights are the only things giving the scene light. Emphasised also by being in a forest just off the road, in the middle of nowhere, this gives the scene a typical thriller feel. As it is the first time you see any of the characters, this setting creates a sense of mystery. In one scene, the mobsters are all seen sitting around a table with a single light above them shining down onto the table. This use of low-key lighting not only creates a typical thriller setting, but also focuses the audience's attention to the centre of the table, and it creates a sense of importance. This setting is emphasised as there is smoke floating through the room, and it gives the setting a realistic feel. In the continuous tracking shot, Ray Liotta's character is seen leaving his car and entering Copacabana through the back entrance. As he exits his car and enters the club, the camera shows the club entrance and the city street of New York. The dark low-key lighting effect achieved in this scene makes the setting seem dark and create a sense of danger. This creates a typical thriller setting. Furthermore, the setting of the club itself, when Liotta is seen walking through the back and the kitchen, creates a sense of power and wealth and emphasises the main character's role. Thanks for watching.